Okay, today what I'd like to do is show you how to create a two-point perspective letter on the iPad. And we're going to use a program called Sketchbook. It's from Autodesk. It's on the iPad and it's free. I'm sure you could use other programs to do this, but this program works pretty well. And if you have an Apple Pencil, it works really good. First thing I want to do is just show you kind of a quick overview of what I did and how I made this letter. And you can see I started making an X. What I did was I mirrored an X and then I created my perspective. Now I'm doing this rather quickly. Don't worry. I'm going to go step by step on how to do this with a different letter so you can see how to do a different letter in this two-point perspective. Remember, you probably could do this on the computer with some programs, or if you don't have the free program from Autodesk called Sketchbook on your iPad, you can download it, but you probably could do it with other programs. I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. Just about done here with the X, and I'm going to show you how the rest of it is done. Okay, let's get started. The first thing I want to do is I want to select the tool that is the perspective tool. You'll see that in the top right-hand corner. And I've selected two-point perspective. You'll notice there's other options there, 1-point, 2-point, and 3-point. I start by drawing a line, a vertical line, and that is my middle line. And I draw that, and then I draw lines back to the vanishing point. You'll notice that the vanishing point is that blue dot right there. And I'm drawing the top, the middle, and the bottom of my letter. Well, what letter am I doing? I'm going to do an S here. But I could do many letters using this kind of figure eight technique. So I'm just sketching out my letters. Sometimes your lines don't want to go to the vanishing point, so don't worry about that. If they don't want to go to the vanishing point, sometimes you can just switch from the perspective tool to the line tool. And if you have a problem with the line going in the right direction, try that. So that's what I did here. I switched that tool. For all my angles, I'm going to switch to that tool anyway. So I'm switching to my line tool, and I'm drawing the S out without any curves on it. So you'll notice I only have corners here. The S is drawn. Now what I have to do is I have to take the layer, and I want to change the opacity to really low, and I want to create a new layer. Now I'm actually going to draw on this new layer, not the old layer. That's just a guide. And I'm going to change my pen to black. Now on this layer here I want to be much more precise, but I have guidelines to help me do that, so it shouldn't be too hard. Some of my lines I don't do very well with, so if I don't do a good job, I just undo and I go back and I change it a little bit. And after watching this video, I noticed there's a few places that I went probably a little too quick, and I probably should have done a little bit better job with that. So I'm just following my guidelines here, and I'm using the line tool, not the perspective tool anymore, just the line tool. And I'm just making the S. Now I know some of you probably don't know how to make letters, block letters. It really isn't difficult, and I do have a video on how to make some block letters on my site, on my YouTube channel. So you can always go and take a look at that if you're not sure if you'd like to learn that. I do it by hand by drawing it, but you could do it on the computer. I noticed there's a line right there I didn't do a very good job with. It's a little bit crooked. I probably should have went back and fixed that, but I didn't. Okay, now I'm going to clean up some corners just by erasing them, and I like to use the line tool to do this. After I've done that, I've got to duplicate this layer. And after I duplicate it, then what I'm going to do is select it and flip it. I got to flip it over to the other side. You see it's selected there. I moved it and flipped it over. I may have to do some adjusting right here to get the corners to line up, and you can do it with the tool shown right above there, and you can adjust it just so they line up just perfectly. Now I just combine the layers together. I know there's a lot going on here, but slow down the video if you're not sure. I combine the layers together, and I have to do just a little bit of adjusting to get those to line up just right. So you can use like the distort tool to do that. Now I've switched back to perspective, the two-point perspective, and I'm drawing my perspective lines. Notice that on the right hand S, I draw back to the left. And on the left hand S, I draw back to the right. So kind of keep that in mind. Every corner is going to be drawn to the opposite side. It's kind of confusing, I know, but perspective is. You'll also notice that I'm drawing like the back portions of my S, the line straight up and down. Just remember, in this case right here, you're either going to draw the line back to a vanishing point, or you're probably going to draw it straight up and down, unless you have a letter that is an angled letter like an N or an M or an S. Notice here that I couldn't get my line quite right, so I switched tools from the perspective tool to the line tool. And so if you got some problems, it just won't go for you. You may have to do it manually. Now I'm just drawing my perspective, drawing back to the vanishing points. So again, I know that this is tricky, and if you're doing a different letter other than an S, you may have a difficult time. But just remember that when you're drawing the three-dimensional part, you're going to draw to the opposite side. Okay, and that's a good rule to go by. Again, I have another video. I do it by hand for an Art 2 class, and you can always watch that. It might help you out with a little bit with the letters if you're not sure how to do it. It's a little confusing, but you can do it if you try. You just have to think about it a little bit. So here I'm drawing the rest of my corners back, and now there's time for some erasing. I like to use the line tool to erase and not the eraser. I don't think the eraser does quite as good as the line tool. So I use the line tool to do that and just draw little lines. I just think it works a little bit better. So that's what I'm doing here. I think I can get the angles a little bit better, and most of the time I like to use that. I can switch to the eraser tool if I think I need it, but you'll just have to decide what's going to work for you. Right here, I think I'm using the eraser tool here. It looks like, yeah, the eraser tool here. And sometimes it works out okay, sometimes it doesn't. I do like to use the line tool. I just feel like it works better. I think I'm using the eraser tool and the line tool. I don't remember. That's what happens when you get old. You don't remember those things. Because I made this video a while ago, and I just never got around to putting it out on YouTube. So I'm trying to clean up the edges and clean up the lines a little bit, make them a little bit sharper, a little bit nicer. Take your time and do a good job. It's important to take your time. And if you don't take your time, it's probably not going to be as good as you'd like. There's some places here I wish I would have gone a little slower and done a little bit better job. And especially with erasing and being precise with your lines. And you can see there's plenty of places where I'm not very precise and my corners are not very clean. Try to do a better job than I did. So again, then I'm trying to fix it up with, the eraser, and yeah, it's not great. Sorry. Okay, but good enough for demonstration purposes. You'll do a better job. Okay, now it's time to colorize our letters. So what I'd like to do is just pick a color that you like, and when I do the three-dimensional part, I try to pick the same color, and I try to pick shades and tints of that color. And I also think about where the light is shining on our letter, so that will change my opinion on what color it should be, and try some different things and put in there what you like. There's no mistakes here. You can do whatever you want. It's all okay. And it's good also to put like a contrasting background in. So if you want to dump a color in the background, or if you'd like to put a picture in the background, I think that would be fine also. You kind of have to decide. Now I do have a few examples. Some are done or some are not done, and some were just practices, but you can kind of get an idea how letters might be done if you're doing one of these letters. So that may help just a little bit. Figure that out. Okay, that's it. I will see you guys next time. Have a good day.